Cuba's foreign minister revealed in an announcement that the Caribbean nation has submitted an official letter to Russia's Vladimir Putin, who currently holds the BRICS presidency. And now moving to the Caribbean, where in a bold move to further solidify its global standing, Cuba has requested to join the BRICS nations as a partner country.
In a stunning diplomatic pivot that has blindsided Washington, Cuba has officially submitted its application to join the BRICS alliance, sending shockwaves through the global financial order and dealing a potentially devastating blow to decades of U.S. economic sanctions. The decision marks a dramatic turning point in Cuba's international posture.
And this year, the organization welcomed new members including Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates, marking its first expansion since South Africa's entry in 2010. BRICS, known for its collective of emerging economies, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, have positioned itself as a counterweight to the Western-dominated world order,
aligning the long, isolated Caribbean nation with a powerful bloc led by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. For President Donald Trump, who once vowed to tighten the U.S. stranglehold on Cuba, the announcement is nothing short of a geopolitical gut punch. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
We cannot ignore the increasing interest in BRICS from many countries. Today, more than 30 countries, specifically 34, have expressed a desire to join our union in one form or another. Therefore, an active discussion has been initiated among all BRICS participants regarding the modalities for a new category of partner states.
Unlike full membership, this status allows countries to collaborate closely with BRICS without becoming a formal member. It's an alternative path for countries in the global south, a group that increasingly sees BRICS.
The move comes at a time when BRICS is actively expanding its influence and openly challenging Western dominance over global trade and finance. With recent additions like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Egypt already transforming the once modest coalition into a rising global counterweight to the G7, Cuba's application further underscores a new world order, one where American sanctions are increasingly losing their bite. Cuba's leadership framed the decision not just as a diplomatic shift, but as a survival strategy to escape the US dollar's grip and decades of economic punishment. At a press conference in Havana, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel declared, "Our people have endured the weight of U.S. sanctions for generations. Today, we take a bold step toward economic sovereignty by aligning ourselves with partners who respect our independence and share our vision of a multipolar world." The statement was met with roaring applause from the Cuban parliament and quickly echoed by pro-BRICS leaders across the globe. President Trump, who during his term reversed the Obama-era thaw with Havana and reinstated over 200 sanctions, reportedly responded to the news with outrage behind closed doors. According to a source close to his inner circle, Trump sees the BRICS move as a strategic betrayal and a humiliation to American resolve. On social media, he lashed out within hours, accusing the Biden administration of sleeping at the wheel and allowing communist Cuba to get in bed with our worst enemies. But the truth is, this didn't happen overnight. For months, Cuba has been strengthening ties with BRICS members, especially China and Russia, through infrastructure agreements, digital trade pilots, and energy partnerships. Recent visits by Chinese and Russian delegations laid the groundwork for the application, and insiders say BRICS leaders have already quietly signaled support for Cuba's membership. If approved, Cuba's inclusion would mark the first nation in the Western Hemisphere to join BRICS, effectively bringing the alliance right into America's backyard. Strategically, it's a masterstroke. Economically, it's a direct challenge to the US dollar, which BRICS countries have been working to bypass through bilateral trade in local currencies and a proposed common settlement mechanism. With Cuba on board, BRICS gains a key foothold just 90 miles from Florida and a longtime adversary of US foreign policy. The timing is crucial. Global sentiment is shifting rapidly as emerging economies grow weary of US-centric financial systems. The dollar's weaponization through sanctions, while powerful, has also pushed targeted countries to seek alternatives. For Cuba, joining BRICS could mean access to a new financial lifeline, trade deals not subject to U.S. controls, investment without IMF strings, and the possibility of participating in the proposed BRICS currency mechanism currently under development. Reactions in Washington have ranged from stunned silence to outright panic. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are scrambling to understand the implications. Senator Marco Rubio called it a dangerous escalation in the hemisphere, while progressive voices like Representative Ilhan Omar argued that it's the inevitable result of an outdated sanctions regime. Meanwhile, the State Department issued a vague statement saying it continues to monitor developments and reaffirmed its support for democratic values in Cuba. A message that rang hollow as world headlines focused on Cuba's escape hatch from the U.S. financial chokehold. For ordinary Cubans, the news brings cautious optimism. After years of shortages, inflation, and isolation, many see the BRICS partnership as a long overdue opening to the global economy. Street celebrations broke out in Havana as the announcement spread, with chants of "BRICS sí, bloqueo no" echoing through the capital. Young Cubans interviewed by foreign media said they hoped the move would bring jobs, technology, and new opportunities. But the implications stretch far beyond Cuba. This moment may mark the symbolic breaking point for America's sanctions policy writ large. For decades, Washington has relied on financial isolation to bend the will of rival governments, often with little long-term success. Cuba, Iran, Venezuela, and North Korea all faced crushing embargoes, but never buckled politically. Now, with the BRICS alliance offering an alternate economic path, that strategy is looking increasingly outdated. Analysts warn that if more sanctioned or alienated nations follow Cuba's lead, the dollar's dominance in global trade could face serious erosion. Already, China and Russia have been conducting major transactions in yuan and rubles. India and Brazil are exploring similar models. If BRICS expands into Latin America, the shift could be irreversible. For Trump, whose entire foreign policy doctrine was built around leverage, pressure, and economic force, the optics are devastating. He promised to bring rogue nations to their knees. Instead, one just joined a growing coalition designed to defy U.S. pressure outright. The fact that it's Cuba, the same island he once promised would never escape American pressure, only adds to the sting. What happens next could redefine hemispheric relations. Will the U.S. retaliate with even harsher sanctions? Will it try to discredit BRICS or sabotage its trade mechanisms? Or will it be forced to engage in a diplomatic recalibration as its neighbors drift toward rival alliances? The BRICS alliance, for its part, appears unfazed by U.S. concerns. In a joint statement, representatives from Brazil and South Africa welcomed Cuba's application and hinted at future announcements regarding other Western Hemisphere nations. If this momentum continues, BRICS could transform from a regional economic bloc into a global political alternative, one openly hostile to American hegemony. Cuba's gamble is clear: break from economic isolation by joining forces with emerging superpowers. Whether the move will deliver the long-promised relief or spark fresh geopolitical tension remains to be seen. But for now, Havana is celebrating, Trump is fuming, and the global balance of power has shifted, perhaps permanently.